The
Beautiful
last
day, Patriots. How are you? We're going to continue our studies of American history. And before we do go look at some of these pictures, I'm just going to ask you something. America's official birth date is 1776. That's the year we became free, right? And then 100 years later, we had the Civil War, okay? And that was about 100 years ago, the Civil War. And when we go back and look and depict, the Civil War, we see that it was, hand-to-hand combat and very terrible conditions, and it was definitely horse and buggy, and the surgeries were cutting off legs, and it was ball and musket, and the disease, and okay, I mean, we know the history of the Civil War. We've got actual photographs. We've got actual, real, true photographs of the Civil War that we can look at. But 100 years earlier, during the Revolutionary War, when America was just starting, we're going to go look at some of the pictures that they show us that was in America before America was even born. Okay? Now, obviously we can't see real pictures, we can only get drawings. But let's look at some of these drawings. These are buildings in America before America was officially America. Now, of course, we know that we were here for a long time and stuff was happening. But look at the size of this building. Look at the size of this building. Look at the size of this building. Look at the size of these buildings. This is a time when they were telling us that we were struggling the most. That, okay, so Benjamin Franklin at this time, Benjamin Franklin's in here somewhere, right? And he's credited for making a lot of inventions, like the printing press, and, his list is quite amazing. Electricity, discovered electricity, and all these type of things, right? And one of the things is like the swivel chair. Just the swivel chair. So that you could sit at your desk comfortably and move back and forth. But look what was going on beforehand. They didn't know how to make a lazy Susan. They made all these buildings. Look at the size of this building. And again, why? Okay, so you're in the beginning and earliest stages of America. We've got a lot going on. Look at the size of these buildings. Look at these smokestacks. Again, resources at the beginning, regardless if you've got a whole forest, resources are limited because you're hand sawing everything, you're hand cutting everything. It takes a lot of manual man hours. Who baked all these bricks? Who baked all of these bricks? And these windows. Who made windows before America was like this? I know we had windows, but I mean, where was these factories making all this stuff? And before, as I repeat, before the Revolutionary War, things were very rough. People were struggling. There was no social help from your government. There was no government giving you money to make sure you ate. It was survival of the fittest. And people were building buildings that have this kind of waste of material, man hours to build it. For what function? Look at the size of these buildings. Again, this is a time when the best we could do is just wind. And as we go through and look at these things, the people that built these things, there's always an architect that gets credit. Here's 620 pictures. I haven't seen these. Let's see what this shows us. That, this one's pretty much the same. I don't see any pictures of the large. Okay, behind these people right here, look at this behind them. Look at the size of that building right there. 1, 2, at least 3 stories high. And again, they show these smokestacks at the side of the buildings, right? And if you were building a fireplace in your house, you wouldn't let all that heat on the outside of your bricks stay out there. I know we do in a lot of houses in America the way we build them now, but if you were building these big old 3, 4 story houses, you would do things efficiently. You would put the chimney in the middle of the house so that both sides of the wall would be able to heat both sides of the house. I'm not educated. I don't have an architectural degree. I don't even have a speaking degree. I don't even have a Twitter degree. I do see things in a different degree, though, than just straightforward by like the way they want to tell us. So I've kind of got us lost here where they're not showing. I think I probably got a little bit sidetracked off of the theme of the subject of buildings. Let's see if we could, Florida Center for Instructional Technology. That's the name of the building they're giving this thing here. Look at the size of this thing. And it's so huge. So huge. Horse and buggies. The technology of horse and buggies made this. And again, let's look at this kind of thinking about this. Where's the smoke chimney stacks? Where's the smoke chimney stacks? A building of this size, how's it being heated? Okay, now that's in Florida Center for Institute Technology. Okay, so we can get away with that. That would be, Florida doesn't need a fireplace. Here's Boston, Massachusetts. Does it get cold in Boston? Does it ever get cold in Boston? I think on the East Coast, Boston winters right there on the harbor can be brutal. Here's a picture they're claiming was before America was America, pre-1776. Where's the fireplaces? How did these people heat their home? I mean, we see, and again, and look at the size of the street. The street is absolutely gargantuan. Gargantuan. That's the other thing that you can see all over the place when you start looking at these things is like, why did they have such huge, large streets? Because every little square inch of land to maintain is very difficult and expensive. So it's an old librarian drawing. Which building is this? I don't see, what does that say down there? My phone's really broken. I'm hoping to get a new one by tomorrow or this week. Okay, Boston again. Oh, it's probably the same. That's the same building. I'm sorry. This is the one I was hoping to look at. And I can't read what that says. I hope I'm not wasting your time and boring you guys. Okay, this is the Boston City Library. This is the Boston City Library before the Revolutionary War. Look at the size of the building. And before the Revolutionary War, we had a building this size of written books. We know in our history, when was the printing press made? When was the printing press made? And so in Boston, before the printing press was made, we've got building this size, holding a library in Boston before the American Revolution, and look at the size of the buildings next to it. Where is their heating source? Okay, there's a fireplace, they say. And again, I'm not claiming that it's not. But really, you would not put it look at the heat loss. Trying to heat something up when it's always being exposed to the outside cold is just not efficient in any form or fashion. And a library of this size before the printing press by Benjamin Franklin was born. Look at the size of these buildings. Are you sure you understand your American history? Look at the size of these things. This last one's a doozy. I hope you've stayed for this. Life in the original colonies. Life in the original colonies? Look at the size of this building. This was here before the American Revolution. I'm just saying that's what they're telling us. Are you a Republican or a Democrat or somebody